more than ever, ever, ever to hear your voice.
Yes.
And to follow you wherever you
Yes,
tell
Lord.
us to go. So Lord, give us ears to hear, clean out our ears, clean out our hearts, clean out our minds, Lord, the cobwebs out of our minds. Lord, give us alert attention unto you, Lord God.
Yes.
And let us know, Father, how urgent it is to hear
Yes.
from you. Not just on Sunday morning or Thursday night, but constantly, Lord, that we need to be in constant communion and fellowship with you and be your friend.
Yes.
You're the friend that sticks closer than a brother.
Yes.
And Lord, we don't ever want to lose contact with the flow of your blood in our life. And we just lift up this time to you, Lord, and
Yes, Lord.
ask for a gift of wisdom, Lord, that we might be able to receive something from you that might help us or to be able to help someone in need.
Thank you, Lord.
In that time of trouble, Lord, that you're going to call on us to help out, and we want to be ready servants. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
When Chuck called me today and asked me to share, there's just been a few things on my mind. I thought, well, I'll just be able to share them. And one thing might be that I had shared before, because when I heard it in 1974, the Lord specifically told me to remember it and share it. And I think it's more pertinent now than ever before. And I might have even shared it here. But when I first got saved in 1974, which, by the way, I had my 37th birthday in the Lord on April the 21st.
Praise the Lord.
So, but I used to watch, when I first got saved, the 700 Club hadn't been on very long. And one day I was watching and there was a testimony there. And I don't know if you remember, some of you may remember or not, in 1974 there was an earthquake in Los Angeles.
Yes, I remember.
And there was a hospital that was damaged quite a bit.
Yeah. And
right at the center of the earthquake, there was a young couple that was staying in an apartment. This young couple lived on the upper floor, and he was a Hell's Angel, and she had just gotten saved. She had traveled with the Hell's Angels and had a family that had been praying for her for a long time. So she was a brand new Christian. She didn't have a lot of knowledge of the Word, but she had Jesus Christ in her heart and the blood over the doorpost of her heart.
Glory.
But he was really a mean character. He was on there too, and this was post-testimony. He had gotten saved. But he said that he was so mean that when someone would come up and ask him about himself, that they'd heard he was really mean, he'd been known to break their arm right then.
Oh, wow.
Just to show them, you go tell people how mean I am.
Wow.
So this guy was really an evil Knievel guy. But the testimony was that morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, when the earthquake happened, she was a brand new Christian, and of course he was not. He was 280 pounds, and she was about 100 pounds soaking wet. And they were laying on the bed, and the earthquake woke them up, and they said that he flew across the room like a pencil, but she never moved off the bed. Now, in our knowledge of gravity and weight, that is impossible to happen. So it wasn't about how much she knew, it was about who she knew.
Yeah, that's right.
Amen.
But I do believe that as people that have been following the Lord for a long time, that there are going to be people that need to hear what we have to say in the days and times to come.
Yes.
And I've just been overwhelmed with the news in the last few days with Alabama and Mississippi. They said that April usually has about 100 tornadoes, and they've had over 800 now in 1 month. So it's just going above what we could even think. So this thing could be moving a lot faster than our minds can understand. So we've got to be ready to run with the Lord.
Yep.
The other testimony was it was right about the same time, there was an earthquake in Alaska. And that happened just a little bit after, maybe a year after that one. And there was a woman, it was again on the 700 Club. She said that she was walking down the street in Anchorage, Alaska, and when that powerful earthquake hit, and she just reached down, she said she never had any fear. It was like the Lord just had her in a bubble. She just took hold of the concrete. She said that the concrete was like waves in the street. And she said that she rode that earthquake out and never had 1 ounce of fear.
Praise the Lord.
That is supernatural power of God.
Amen.
But about 4 years ago, we were down here, we were driving to Houston, and we were in Mississippi on the Gulf. And at home, they were saying that night there were going to be tornado warnings. And I remember listening to the news that night, and it was on the Weather Channel, so it was a national kind of news. And they were talking about Nashville and Goodlettsville and Hendersonville, the little towns where I live around Nashville. And he said, take cover. The tornado warnings, that people have seen these, and they're coming your way. Take cover now. And the Lord spoke to my heart to pray specifically that would pass over. And it was also quickening in my heart about the word Passover. That we thought of the word Passover as a noun, of a feast of the Passover feast, and that it was Old Testament. And of course, we know that Jesus has become our Passover lamb. But that night, when that quickened in my heart, I thought of the analogy of passing over my loved ones and the Passover. And I said, Lord, this is revelation. And I just began to pray in tongues and ask God to pass over my family and to remember the Passover and apply that to my family for divine protection now, Lord.
Yes.
Well, a little bit later, the announcer, the news weather announcer, came back on and he said, well, I don't ever know what happened in Nashville or those little towns. He said, I guess it passed over. Yes, it did. It passed over. So I thought we would look at that just for a little bit. I've just got a little bit to share here. First I want us to look at Psalms 140, verse 13.
Surely.
That means indeed, surely, the righteous. And the word righteous means high thinker, that we think in spiritual thoughts. Surely the righteous shall give thanks, will be a grateful, thankful people in the midst of everything. Surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name, the upright shall dwell in thy presence. And I believe that there is such a keeping power that God is going to display to His people that are thinking rightly, that are high thinkers, that are thinking by faith and not by sight, that God is going to keep us in these perilous times that
Thank you, Lord.
could be this season. We don't know what the hurricane season is going to bring.
Amen.
We're praying, dear God, we don't want to have to go through that. But we know that whatever comes, that God is going to be with us.
Yes, He is.
Amen.
It's going to pass Hallelujah. But I looked at the word Passover, and it's really cool. It means a sparing or to spare, and it also means immunity.
Oh, glory.
So we right now,
Immunity.
with what's going on, we're praying for God to spare those loved ones that are in those circumstances, and asking for that blood. We know that the blood is on the doorpost of our heart, but how many have children that you've claimed and they've had times and seasons of spiritual seasons, but then they're not where they should be? I believe that we can take authority for them, for the blood of Jesus to be over the doorpost of their heart and
Thank you,
pray
Lord.
that Passover prayer for them. I have been doing it for the last 4 years, and I know in my knower that it's working. So I'm just passing this on to you because I feel like it's going to be a time that we're going to need it. And the word plague, you know, that is a term that we don't use today, but it is definitely a word that we need to take a look at. That the word plague, it means a disaster, a calamity, a heavy affliction,
Yeah.
a misfortune. You know, a misfortune is the opposite of having a fortune.
Yeah.
Being fortunate or being misfortune.
You missed it.
So it also can mean a disease in our physical body. But we know that Mother Earth is shaking. And even in Japan, they say that Japan has moved 8 feet. And that tsunami and that earthquake moved the axis of the earth.
7
So I heard it was 8 feet.